Sometimes we forget that communication is not just about the words we speak. It's about the energy behind those words, the small, seemingly insignificant actions that reveal the truth about how someone feels. Women, perhaps more than men realize, have mastered the art of expressing their emotions through subtle gestures, tones, and movements. When a woman does something unexpected, when she pulls back, when she lingers longer in silence, when she suddenly changes her rhythm, she is speaking, not in a language of sentences, but in a language of signals. And this is where many men get lost. They focus on what's being said rather than what's being shown. They look for answers and explanations when the truth is already in front of them, written in behavior. When a woman acts instead of speaks, she's not trying to confuse you or test you in the way you might think. She's inviting you into a deeper level of understanding, a place beyond surface communication. Think about it. A person who trusts you enough to reveal themselves without words is actually showing vulnerability. She's saying, I'm showing you my inner world without making it obvious. But if you rush past these cues, if you dismiss them or misinterpret them, you're not just missing her message, you're missing her. And when a woman feels unseen, a gap begins to grow. There's a psychological truth here that runs deep. Actions are often the truest form of communication because they bypass the ego and come straight from the subconscious. Women know this, even if they don't consciously plan it. For men, understanding this is not about learning tricks or decoding some mysterious code. It's about slowing down, paying attention, and learning to read the energy of a moment. It's about shifting from reacting to observing, from assuming to understanding. In practical terms, that means noticing the patterns. When she's quieter than usual, it doesn't necessarily mean she's upset with you. It may mean she's processing, reflecting, or hoping you'll take the time to ask what's wrong rather than rushing to fill the silence. When she withdraws physically, it's not always rejection. It might be a sign of stress, exhaustion, or even a test of emotional safety. When she becomes more affectionate, it's not just physical closeness. It's a cue that she's opening up and wants reassurance. What separates men who thrive in their relationships from those who struggle isn't looks, money, or charm. It's awareness. It's the ability to say, something's different here. Let me pause, let me listen. Let me show her that I see what she's trying to express. That kind of presence communicates care more than 1,000 words ever could. And the truth is, women aren't looking for perfection. They're not looking for a man who always has the right answer or says the perfect thing. They're looking for someone who cares enough to notice, to ask, to be curious about their inner world. When you start paying attention to actions rather than just words, your entire relationship dynamic changes. Suddenly, arguments turn into conversations. Misunderstandings turn into moments of connection. You stop feeling like you're guessing and start feeling like you're participating in something meaningful. This isn't about overanalyzing. It's about respecting the fact that a woman's actions are a window into her truth. And this is where real intimacy begins. Because intimacy is not just physical closeness, it's emotional closeness. It's feeling seen, heard, and understood without having to explain every detail. When you learn to recognize and honor the unspoken signals, you give her the gift of feeling deeply understood. And that is more powerful than any grand gesture. So let me leave you with this thought. The next time a woman in your life acts in a way you don't understand, don't rush to judge it. Don't rush to fix it. Just pause, breathe, and observe. Ask yourself, what might she be saying without words? That small shift, that willingness to listen beyond the surface, can transform not only your relationships, but also your ability to connect with people at a soul level. Because the truth is, actions are not just signals. They are opportunities. Opportunities to love better, to understand deeper, and to grow into the kind of man who makes every woman feel seen. And when you become that man, The one who listens with his eyes as well as his ears. The one who responds with presence instead of reaction. You stop chasing connection and start creating it. That is the kind of power that can change your life. One of the most overlooked truths about women is that what they truly desire, deep beneath the surface of their actions, is emotional safety. Safety doesn't mean you're a man who never makes mistakes or never disagrees. It means you're a man whose presence communicates stability, whose energy calms rather than escalates, whose words build rather than tear down. When a woman feels emotionally safe, her walls come down. Her communication softens. Her actions become an invitation rather than a test. And this is something far too many men underestimate, because they think safety is only about providing or protecting physically. But emotional safety is what allows her to be her full self around you without fear of judgment, rejection, or shame. Think about how powerful that is. In a world that constantly tells women to measure up, to look a certain way, to act a certain way, to suppress their vulnerability, imagine being the one person with whom she can exhale. Imagine being the man she can be unguarded around. That's not just attraction, that's transformation. Because when a woman feels safe, her love deepens. Her energy shifts. She stops holding back. And suddenly, the connection between you stops being about roles or expectations and starts being about truth. This kind of safety doesn't come from empty words or grand gestures. It's built moment by moment through consistency. It's in how you respond when she makes a mistake. It's in whether you listen when she's upset rather than rushing to defend yourself. It's in whether you make her feel like her emotions are too much or like they matter. And this is where men often lose their footing. Not because they don't care, but because they underestimate how much these small responses add up. Every time you dismiss her feelings, you teach her to hide them. Every time you listen with openness, you teach her she's safe to bring her whole self to you. Psychologically, emotional safety is the soil in which trust grows. Without it, even the most passionate connection will feel unstable. With it, even disagreements can become opportunities for growth. This is why some men who are not traditionally handsome, wealthy, or charismatic still attract deeply loving, loyal relationships. Because they offer something rarer than looks or status. A sense of inner steadiness. They don't panic in the storm, they become the anchor. And women sense that. There's also a deeper reason why this matters. Emotional safety taps into the core of human connection. Every person wants to feel seen, heard, and valued. But for women, who have been culturally conditioned to shrink or mask their feelings, this desire runs especially deep. When you provide that space, you're not just making her feel good, you're giving her permission to be fully alive. You're telling her, you are enough here, all of you is welcome. That's not weakness, that's leadership of the highest kind. And here's something to consider. Being the man who creates emotional safety doesn't mean losing your edge or silencing your needs. It's about self-mastery. It's about knowing your own emotions well enough that you don't react impulsively. It's about being present enough to listen without turning everything into an argument. It's about strength without intimidation, confidence without arrogance. When you embody that, you're no longer trying to prove yourself. You're showing up as yourself. And that's magnetic. So much of the confusion between men and women disappears when this principle is understood. The mixed signals you think you're getting from her often aren't tests or games. They're her way of gauging whether she's safe enough to fully open up to you. And once she feels that safety, she will go deeper. She will invest more. She will bring a level of trust and vulnerability that changes the entire texture of the relationship. This is why learning to create emotional safety is not just good for your relationship, it's good for your growth as a man. It teaches you patience, empathy, and presence. It challenges you to communicate better, to listen better, to lead without dominating. It calls you to be the kind of person whose steadiness inspires trust everywhere, not just with women, but with friends, colleagues, even strangers. And so the question you must ask yourself is simple. Do the people closest to me feel emotionally safe around me? Not just comfortable,